This well laid out vegetable garden has more to offer than just prettiness. As seeds emerge, sometimes it is difficult to tell the good from the bad. But if the good are in a row, it is much easier to weed out the bad. Also, I would not recommend planting this much lettuce at one time or it'll bolt and you'll have nothing for a crop. A veg garden needs as much sunshine as possible. Choose your location accordingly. A minimum of 6 to 8 hours is necessary for success. Soil should be loose. Too sandy and it dries out too quickly. Too heavy, that means too much clay, and it is too dense for the plants to thrive. In either case, the correction is add compost or add composted, well-rotted manure with lots of straw in it. One of the big enemies in your garden is the dandelion. Dig it out and don't let it go to seed. Another one of the wicked witches in the garden is twitchgrass. The strong, sharp, white roots that you see there will pierce a potato. They will also spread the twitchgrass throughout your garden. Another one of this evil crowd is sow thistle, spread by the roots and by the seed. Do not hoe any of these, but dig them out, place them on a drying rack, which can be made from a tomato cage and sticks, then put in the sun to completely dry out these plants, crumble them and put them back in the soil. A fruit worth growing is rhubarb, no longer an inexpensive thing at the grocery store. Plant it in the spring in a sunny spot, but don't harvest it for 2 to 3 years. Lightly manure and compost each year. Then in the spring, when it's well established, pull the stalks, harvest them by cutting off the leaves, and push them back under the plant. Yes, these leaves are poisonous, but you are not going to eat them. Don't worry if you have a few misses. Eventually the plants will fill in. Please note that the beans are planted in rows close together so that as they grow, the plants shade the ground and no weeds can grow. This well-organized vegetable plot shows tomatoes growing in cages. Indeterminate tomatoes like to grow up. Notice the lettuce. This is a mess of a garden. Vaguely you can see the rows, but no weeding has occurred, and the plants are nearly smothered out by the weeds. To be a good gardener, you should be like Santa and hoe, hoe, hoe. If you hoe diligently about 3 to 4 times in May and June, by July you should have it beat. Consistently and unintentionally, you will hoe at the same level and leave no seeds to germinate. Flowers do attract pollinators. Usually single flowers like the pink cosmos are best, but the pollen of the zinnias, the multicolored flowers in the background, will also be a great attraction. These onions, called Egyptian or walking onions because they set bulbs at the top, and when they get heavy at the top, they fall over and walk through your garden, creating new clumps as they grow. These give 2 crops of green onions, one in the spring and one in the fall. Dig down, cut off the onion above the root, and in the next growing season you will get a new crop. Do not pull the entire onion out of the ground or you will destroy your clump. These are the stems of the bright light Swiss chard, a veg that can give very early in the spring and then again all through the season right up into the fall until snow. This variety is very pretty and can be used in the flower garden. Swiss chard is picked 1 leaf at a time, like one breaks the lettuce off a romaine head. It can be frozen without blanching and used in soups and omelets all winter long. Onions for cooking should be planted in alternating double rows with space to grow but not taking up unnecessary space. If possible, buy Dutch sets in the fall and plant them to a depth of about 2 inches. This should result in bigger bulbs the next year. The size of the bulb depends on the number of hours of sunlight. Since these are already in place, they start growing right away. If you have onions that have started to grow over the winter, plant them in the early spring in a shallow dish or in the garden, and you should have green onions very quickly. Pole beans will give you a constant yield all summer long and a bountiful one. Make a teepee and watch the 10 to 12 seeds that you've planted grow up like Jack's magic beans. Purple beans are a great treat for kids and so magical because they turn green when cooked. Multicolored carrots are just as easy to grow as the orange ones, but they cost a lot more in the store. As you can see, the white ones will probably be the biggest. There are cylinder beets, which do not get as big as some of the round ones, but are just as delicious, and with a crinkle or wavy cutter can be made into very attractive pickles. Potatoes are something like growing treasure. Here the potato is sprouting. This one could be cut into 3 or 4 pieces, each piece producing a productive plant. Do not remove the sprout, but make sure they are under the ground from when you're planting. Then they start to grow and flower, but wait until the plant starts to brown and die down. Then dig up your treasure. Be sure to mound them as they're growing, or the plants will be scorched by sun. That means the new potatoes will turn green, and this is poisonous. Sometimes it is hard to get peppers to set, to make fruit. Best results can be had with sweet Hungarian, or also called sweet banana, as seen in the photo. They start out yellow and turn red and can be used at any stage. Here is Brussels sprouts, a cold weather crop, which is best after it's had some cold weather and even snow. Once the plants reach a good height, 2 to 3 feet, remove the crown at the top to encourage the growth of the sprouts, which appear at the base of each leaf. These plants can be purchased in cell packs like pepper or tomatoes. And now for squash. Plant them in slight depressions and then wait for them to flower. Here is the male flower, and you see the pollen that is all clinging to the little man in the center. Next we see the female flower, waiting to receive the pollen. If you look under the petals, you will see the immature fruit. So in order to pollinate, you take the male flower, remove the petals, and take it out to visit the ladies. Squash flower only lasts 1 day, so they need to be pollinated that day. Make sure that you harvest your squash with the stem intact so that it does not rot. One of the most popular things to grow in a garden are tomatoes. They come in 2 styles, determinate and indeterminate. Indeterminate will grow forever if the weather conditions are correct. Unfortunately, in Canada, we have a thing called winter that prevents this. The determinate varieties are mostly Romas or Italian, the egg-shaped ones, which are very firm and flower, grow to produce fruit, and ripen at the same time. These are the tomatoes that one sees in commercial gardens that can be harvested by machines. This is the horned tomato worm, and it is as big as your middle finger, has a huge appetite for tomato leaves, is easy to spot and easy to remove. The great controversy in growing tomatoes concerns the suckers. To remove them or not. In Leamington, the tomato capital of Ontario, I received the advice, do not touch them, let them grow, and you'll have a bigger yield. Now this is a mess. Late tomato blight is encouraged by excessive watering, and it is best not to water your tomatoes after they are well established, especially in August. Thank you, and happy gardening. You will be delighted with the flavor of everything you harvest, and the savings will be also impressive.